So you're welcome to this little virtual tour of the Temple Bar area in Dublin. There's a pub, there's colour, there's a theatre on the right, the blue building, so you know you're in Temple Bar when you've got such a great concentration of culture. So our first point of note is Rory Gallagher Corner. So that is a replica of Rory Gallagher's famous Fender Stratocaster. Rory Gallagher was an amazing Irish blues and rock guitarist from the early 70s. So it is only fitting that we start our introduction to the Temple Bar area, which is of course an area famous for pubs and music, with a little bit about Rory Gallagher. So Rory Gallagher was born in Donegal in the northwest of the country, same place that I'm from, and he grew up listening to blues and became obviously a very talented guitarist. So talented, in fact, that legend has it that when Jimi Hendrix was interviewed and asked, "Jimmy, what's it like to be the greatest guitarist in the world?" Jimmy replied, "I don't know, man, what are you asking me for? Go ask Rory Gallagher." So that gives you an idea as to the stature of Rory Gallagher in the realm of guitarists anyway. So, just a little bit about Rory. Beside it, we have the Temple Bar Meeting House Square, which is normally where there is a market every Saturday. So that's a great place to come and have some cheesecakes, or maybe a pulled pork sandwich, or indeed, if you're a local shop, for your organic vegetables, fruit, Italian products, and lovely Irish meat. There's a butcher in there that does goat and kid and venison and the other one, veal. Yeah, so that's quite unique. It's a very interesting market. Now, this is the kind of typical thing to see in Temple Bar: a lot of brightly coloured pubs, and of course the pubs are brightly coloured so that people can see them. And I like to make a little joke that the pubs are brightly coloured because they use that to attract their prey, which is generally the male of the human species. And they are aware that occasionally, very often in fact, the male is accompanied by a female. And the females are generally not too swayed, not too attracted by the pubs. So the pub has evolved to find other ways to attract that member of the species towards it. And this is generally lovely flowers, or in this case, a veritable Babylon garden of flowers. This is the famous Temple Bar, and mainly famous because it has the same name as the area. So that's the key thing to understand. It is the area that is known as Temple Bar, after a guy called Sir William Temple. And it just so happens that this area, this pub, is called the Temple Bar. So generally it is thronged with people, and if you are choosing a place to sleep, make sure it's not that hostile there, or indeed anywhere in Temple Bar, because you won't be able to sleep at all, because this is kind of the craziest place. I don't know if you can see this, but we see that cross there? Just below it you have a camera. It's pointed at this area, this Temple Bar area, and you could see the cobbles here that will be thronged with people, particularly on St. Patrick's Day. So that's a great time just to type in live feed Temple Bar St. Patrick's Day. There is a quick likeness of Sir William Temple and Lady Temple. So they owned this area back in the 1600s. He was called Temple, indeed, but a bar wasn't a reference to the drinking establishment. It was a reference to a sandbar, because we are basically right beside the river here. So there was a sandbank or a sandbar here way back in the early modern era. So besides the pubs, thankfully Temple Bar, it has a huge amount of cultural amenities as well, like libraries and museums and galleries and artist studios and cool little alleys that have street art, which is one of my favorite parts to explore, just the kind of neat little alleys. But the whole area is a very interesting place just to amble about, get lost, and come across something interesting. Okay, great. So we are going to turn on this area that we're in now is the main square of Temple Bar. Not a huge square, but this is kind of the central of the Temple Bar area. It is generally not a place you would go if you want to get fine dining anyway, shall we say. But a great place to explore. Leo Burdock's is a fantastic local small chain of fish and chip shops. Fish and chips, of course, a British dish, but one that we have, of course, adopted, and we do pride ourselves on our our potatoes, the growing of them, the eating of them in various forms. So just around the corner is the biggest piece of street art in Dublin. It might be not so technically accurate rather to call it street art, because it was commissioned by this hotel and it was paid for. So, you know, you might see street art. This is not street art, this is graffiti, you know, whereas maybe something a bit prettier, that's kind of just better graffiti. Whereas something that looks like that which you have on the window would be more like street art, something artistic. And indeed, this street artist in Put Out was commissioned to do this fantastic piece that shows the main characters from Ulysses, which is James Joyce's greatest work. So Ulysses by James Joyce captures Dublin on one day, the 16th of June 1904, and it follows Leopold Boom, a Dublin Jew, as he makes his way through Dublin, going to a funeral and, well, generally just kind of getting on with his daily life. But an incredible work, and it's regarded as the greatest work of fiction in the English language. I think the artist here has done a great job of capturing that period as it was in Europe, when Art Nouveau, as you can see here, and as you'll see kind of more made famous by the Czech artist Alfons Mucha, was kind of at its height. Okay, so look, it's got lovely old buildings. I mean, they're not Baroque. We don't really have any Baroque styles here. They're Georgian, so they tend to be symmetrical, very well balanced. And in Temple Bar, most of the buildings would have been from the 1600s and 1700s. And there's the start, or the front, of Bloom's Hotel. Okay, so I hope you liked and enjoyed that little tour of the Temple Bar area. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in Dublin one day.